What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Lex Alexis. Today it's the return of the transfer show on this channel, which is really exciting. This is going to be the first video I do on the 22-23 season that's going to actually include the newer teams, going back down to the Championship or promoted from League One to the Championship. So it's going to be very exciting now. I'm not going to transition properly. I've got two more videos left that I want to do on the current batch of the 21-22 teams. But after that, the intro is going to change and we're going to officially start our talk on the 22-23 season. If you guys like what you see, please give a video a like. It just tremendously helps the channel. Please do hit the subscribe button if you've not done so. It does really help the channel as well. And please share this channel to as many people as you can. All of that helps too. But without any further ado, let's go over the latest transfer news. I mean, where do we begin with the transfer news with the manager situation in the Championship? So, this has kind of been, I thought was going to be like a really quiet story. So, I briefly talked about in my ranking for every team season that Michael Beale is the new manager for QPR. He is associated with Chelsea. He was actually involved in Chelsea for quite some time, joined Liverpool at one stage. And obviously, he then has worked with Gerrard. Him and it been a really good partnership since Gerrard was actually first a manager. So this is going to be the first time for Steven Gerrard's sake that his partner in crime is going to be moving away. And he has had ambitions of doing a top managerial job. And QPR, I mean, he feels like it's the right challenge. And I think there's definitely the risk of a lack of experience. But I think with the style of football that he plays, which is high intensity, on the ball, press is very high with his style of play as well. And from what I've heard in terms of reviews about his coaching, it's all very positive. So that's going to make things very interesting. It's definitely a new direction, and I think more people from the QPR fan base are taking Michael Beale's appointment as a positive rather than a negative. If you have any QPR viewers watching, let me know of what you think in the comments down below. But one bit of news I did not see coming from yesterday is that Neil Critchley has now left his position as Blackpool boss to actually fill in the shoes of Michael Beale to be Aston Villa's assistant coach. Now, of course, Gerrard and Critchley are going to have that Liverpool connection, of course, but I did not expect Critchley to jump ship so quickly when Michael Beale was only appointed, within a matter of days ago. As soon as he was appointed, Gerrard thought, okay, he's a talented manager from Blackpool. We know each other very well. And Critchley, I mean, I personally think that, if he carried on with Blackpool, he really could have made something special. But what this does for me is that I'm a bit scared for Blackpool this season. Unless they get like a Mark Warburton in, I mean, it'll feel right, wouldn't it? Michael Beale takes over Warburton's position, and then, of course, Warburton will then fill the shoes of Blackpool. I almost feel like that they're swapping roles over a little bit. But if Blackpool don't get them in and they don't get a positive appointment, it could be a really tough time for Blackpool next year. Because what Critchley did when he arrived in March 2020, he installed some belief. Blackpool, at that time when he came in, when he replaced Simon Grayson, they were in around a mid-table position, but Critchley really made things positive right from the get-go. Within a season, he got Blackpool promoted from League One, and he got them to survive, the season later in the Championship, doing much better than the other two newly promoted teams. So, bit of a disappointment for Blackpool, especially to let him go. But with the core group of players, as long as you get the right manager in, they should still be able to perform and knock down tools. So, that is the news right now in terms of the managerial news. It's going to be interesting to see Neil Critchley be a coach in the Premier League as well. So, Gerrard and Critchley, you've got to watch out for them and Aston Villa, because I'm telling you this, Aston Villa have made some great signings so far, and they've already made a slight change to their coaching role as well. Is Critchley going to be an upgrade to Bill? We're going to have to wait and find out. So now let's talk about the transfers and the people who have actually entered into their clubs. So Bristol City have been a team quite busy so far. They got Mark Sykes in from Oxford. And the big one for me is Cal Naismith from Luton Town. Both free transfers, both of those signings actually. Sykes I've seen a tiny bit with Oxford, but Naismith we saw a lot of with Luton Town last year. And I think that is a very positive signing for Bristol City. Maybe could have been tempted about the higher wages, because Luton, unfortunately, their wages and, their budget just is not going to be competing with many Championship teams. But I tell you what, if Naismith shows an ounce of the quality he showed at Luton last year, he'll be a positive signing for Bristol City. I hope so, at least. Cardiff have been quite busy so far. They've got a couple of signings in. Ebru Adams from Forest Green, I think, is a very interesting signing as well. Another one that I think is quite interesting as well is John Alwick from St Mirren. I've seen bits of him. I still need to learn a little bit about him. Other signings they made Onitana and Amibu Collins. So they're making this sort of youth setup, because I think they're all relatively youngish players that they got in. And I think that is going to be the approach that Steve Morrison is going to take. And definitely he's going to rely on players from lower leagues, potentially just to save up cash, really. But if he can definitely get the right coaching and get the best out of him, then I think they could be positive signings for Cardiff. Rotherham made the signing of Connor Washington, the striker from Charlton Athletic. He's been someone that has had spells of good development, but has not been able to really surge his full potential for me. I think he's not an awful signing. I think Rotherham will be making a couple of strikers. Obviously, I wasn't going to talk about it with the outgoings, but I'll mention it now. Freddie Lindappo has gone to Ipswich Town. So maybe Washington could kind of be seen as a replacement for Lindappo. I don't necessarily think he's going to put by necessarily many goals. I just really need to see how much he's going to thrive. I think if you give him a good spell of momentum, he can get you a good couple of reliable goals. But if he gets a goal drought or he has an injury he has to deal with, I think he'll really, really struggle. So a bit of a gamble for me for Rotherham so far. But if they make more signings, then I feel like Rotherham will be going round the right way to try and survive in the Championship. Sunderland have made the signing of Leon Dajku from Union Berlin. You guys are going to have to tell me if I've pronounced it right or not. But that is also a pretty interesting signing. Only 21 years of age as well. So potentially could be someone who could be a long-term player for Sunderland. Union Berlin, of course, have recently... I feel like they've definitely got some European competition this year as well. I can't remember where they finished in Bundesliga, but Union Berlin have been always an overperforming Bundesliga team, and I think Daiku have been a pretty crucial part in that. So the fact that Sunderland got him already, I think is a great bit of business there. One interesting signing for Swansea is Ben Blythe from Doncaster Rovers, and it looks like they are going to get the goalkeeper from Arsenal, Remy Mitchell. Now, he's not confirmed yet, but all the rumours are speculating that he will join next week. So we should be expecting Swansea to get Remy Mitchell from Arsenal as well. And then a couple more signings last time for West Brom. Jason Malumbi has definitely stayed at West Brom. But the big signing for me so far is John Swift to West Brom. I was going to say, anyone who can get John Swift in is going to have a really, really good amount of time trying to fit in the squad. The fact that West Brom got him out of contract on a free, it's a huge coup. I mean, it surprised me in his 6 seasons that he only scored 33 goals. You would have thought that John Swift had scored more, which just kind of shows how erratic his performances can be over season to season. But when he's on it, John Swift is undoubtedly one of the most talented players in the league. And if West Brom can have that version of John Swift, I think they'll have a fantastic season next year. I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see how he's going to slot into that midfield, whether he's going to partner Alex Moat or he's going to give Garner Hickman some competition now. So I think that's going to be a very interesting signing. I would hope with the standard that John Swift has, he should be starting most games. There's a huge list of outgoings at this moment. I'm just going to name them, not necessarily going to show the animation. So Birmingham have let go of Jeremy Bella and Christian Pedersen for now. Blackburn, a big one for me, is that they let go of Joe Rothwell. Bristol City, they've let go of Callum O'Dowda. Coventry have let go of Jordan Shipley. He's actually transferred to Shrewsbury Town in the league below. Hull have let go of 3 players, Huddlestone, Richie Smallwood and Tom Eves, which I think is quite interesting. Middlesbrough have let go of Sol Bamba and Lee Peltier. Not really too surprised. They're both in their 30s right now, and defensive line as well. I think what Chris Wilder's going to do is to find some younger, faster and more experienced defenders, so I'm not surprised with that. Preston have let go of Scott Sinclair and Tom Barkhazen. Those are the 2 players for me that have really stood out for me there. Reading, as I said, they let go of John Swift, but they also let go of Michael Morrison and Junior Hoyle, and bear in mind how small their squad is, That's not really a good bit of business, unfortunately, at the moment. And I mentioned when they let go of Freddie Lindappo, they've also let go of Angus MacDonald as well. Sheffield United have let go of a couple of their strikers as well. Dave McGoldrick and Lys Mousset's gone, with Luke Freeman as well. He's gone from Sheffield United as well. There's so many other people that have left their clubs, but I just only wanted to list like a good couple of examples there. So now, I want to now talk about some rumours. So we already talked about the Remy Mitchell rumour for Swansea. Let's move on to the next one, and that is going to be on newly promoted Nottingham Forest to the Premier League, and they are reportedly interested in Armando Broja. So obviously we saw Broja play for Southampton last year, and he is a Chelsea player. Of course, I know him more as a Chelsea player. When I saw Broja last year, he had spells of good play, but then when it comes to big, tough physical games where the pressure's going to be on him, he does lack that experience for me. And I do think that's part of his development, of him being a young striker. I think he will definitely get that soon. But Nottingham Forest, I think, will be a positive signing. I think there's going to be good competition in the striker position. There's definitely going to be some interest to see if they can keep all their strikers on. The likes of Johnson will get some interest there. So that's going to be interesting to see if they can get him over the line. West Ham are linked with King Lewis Potter. Now that will be a great signing, whoever can get him. I think a Premier League club should potentially be the one that could get him. And, considering that West Ham in the past got Jarrod Bowen from Hull and seeing how much of a positive player he's been for them, maybe they're looking at King Lewis Potter being like another Jarrod Bowen type player, one who can actually play off the left-hand side, and they can complement each other quite well. Nottingham Forest are also keen to try and get Joe Rothwell. There has been a couple of other Premier League clubs dealing with Joe Rothwell, including the likes of Fulham and Crystal Palace. So that's quite interesting. Joe Rothwell's been released from Blackburn, I think, with his contract ending. But if a Premier League club definitely wants a striker of sorts, I think Joe Rothwell could be an okay option. I think the reason why I get apprehensive getting Championship strikers to the Premier League, we've seen enough of them now, that they're just not necessarily, I'm not saying they're not good enough, but it's very difficult for them to make the step up. We saw how much Che Adams has struggled to try and implement things with Southampton. Another example for Southampton, Adam Armstrong. But then sometimes we see Championship strikers work, the likes of Ollie Watkins. So it's very 50-50 when you get a Championship striker in, that's all I'm going to say. But Joe Rothwell maybe could be someone who can surprise people. Andre Gray is always someone on the move, isn't he? Cardiff, Birmingham and Reading are three clubs reportedly interested in signing Andre Gray. I mean, if any of them get in, he'll pop by, a good couple of games really, and he could score some crucial goals here and there, but he's not necessarily going to be a striker that's definitely going to push your team into either like promotion picture or anything. He'll just be a reliable striker when he needs to be called upon. Sheffield United and Sunderland have been linked with Dion Sanderson, another player that always seems to move from club to club every single season in the Championship. Sheffield United linked with Sanderson's quite interesting, considering with the amount of defenders they play. Sunderland, if they can get Dion Sanderson in, I think that would be a very positive signing for them actually. He has actually played with Sunderland before, so he's got some great experience there. So that will be a very interesting move if he can pull that off there. Now on Burnley, so we're going to cover Burnley for the channel for the first time. And it's not good news for Burnley, really. It sounds like Ben Mee will be leaving Burnley at the end of the season when his contract runs out. And it looks like Tarkowski is on the verge of leaving as well. Those are two of Burnley's best centre-backs. And the fact that they could go, they've really got to try and replace soon. And the problem is, they've still got that debt to pay. So I think before they can even invest properly, Burnley are going to have to repay all that debt by letting players go. So it's going to be a very difficult job for whoever's going to manage Burnley into the Championship, whether it's going to be Mike Jackson or whether it's going to be someone else taking over him. It's not going to be a very easy job at all. Now, Spurs want to sign Nottingham Forest wing-back Jed Spence. I mean, Jed Spence is going to be very heavily interested. There's no surprise about that with his performances around, especially at Nottingham Forest, not necessarily in Middlesbrough, but with Nottingham Forest, he was absolutely brilliant. I still think back to his fantastic performances in the FA Cup against Arsenal and Leicester, and obviously in the lead up to the playoffs as well, and actually the playoff final itself, he did quite well. So I think Spurs, in terms of trying to get a wing back in, he could definitely try and push back Doherty for competition there if he goes to Spurs. And I tell you what, Spurs are definitely looking more long term if they can definitely get Jed Spence in, and that's going to make things very scary to try and compete with Tottenham Hotspur next year. Now, Dominic Ball has joined Ipswich on a 2-year deal. This was done yesterday. That does not surprise me, really. I think whilst Dominic Ball has left QPR, I mean, with a lack of game time and his contract going down, he was always someone that was quite reliable when called upon. So I'm glad Ipswich have taken advantage of that, and I think they'll definitely get a good signing in there. Now, apparently, Lewis O'Brien is looking like that he's linked with 5 Premier League clubs. Crystal Palace, Southampton, Leeds very heavily interested. Bournemouth and Fulham also linked with Lewis O'Brien as well. I mean, all I can say is, if anyone gets Lewis O'Brien, they'll definitely enjoy his company. If I'm thinking on the top of my head about which club I think could fit perfectly for him, I mean, the competition at Palace I think is quite tricky. Southampton could be a good signing. Bournemouth could be decent. I think Bournemouth would actually be a really good signing. Fulham, I mean, if they're looking at O'Brien as a Carvalho replacement, Fulham should be motivated to try and get him. And then Leeds, I mean, Leeds have been crying out for a creative midfielder, haven't they? You know, you can sometimes get Jack Harrison in that position there, but you would want Jack Harrison to stay, you know, wide, wouldn't you? So I think Lewis O'Brien would be a perfect choice for them there. So a couple of clubs I think work better than others, but whoever will get Lewis O'Brien, as I said, will definitely be really enjoying it. Gavin Kilkenny of Bournemouth says that he wants to go out on loan to get first team football. The club linked with him at this moment of time is Middlesbrough, which I think is quite interesting. Kilkenny has been one of those players that has looked promising, especially he was getting a lot of game time at the start of the season, but he did start to lose his place in that midfield position there. So maybe a loan to get more first team football. Would Middlesbrough give him more first team football? I mean, personally, I think if he wants first team football, I think the safest bet for him is to go down to a League One club, because I think they definitely will give him more game time than potentially moving, you know, to another Championship team. And finally, the final rumour of today is Victor Gyökeres from Fulham and Middlesbrough are linked with him. So a lot of players Middlesbrough are linked with, but so with Fulham as well. And I'm not surprised with Fulham, to be honest, with the amount of players they've let go so far. Fulham definitely need to try and rebuild this squad to make sure it can even compete in the Premier League. Middlesbrough, they're definitely going to be wanting to try and get a good squad together. You know, they've got a manager now in Chris Wilder. If you give him a full season, they can definitely have a really positive season eventually, as long as they don't have any setbacks from financial fair play. But then I think Gyökeres will be a good signing. I think he scored plenty of goals for Coventry last year, and you know, Coventry will be not keen to lose him, because I think he's been a very crucial player in that squad. And like with many of the players that I'm listed there, if anyone could get them in, I think they'll definitely be a great professional. I think will be a great signing overall. So guys, that wraps up the transfer show of today, the first one of 22-23 season. If you guys enjoyed it, please let me know in the comments down below. Please give the video a like, it just reminds you up the channel. Please do hit the subscribe button if you've not done so, that really helps too. And please share this channel with as many people as you can, all of it helps too. But that wraps up. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary for showing me this video. As always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.